Educating students in rural settings is an important part of public education in America. More than half of all school districts and a third of all public schools are in rural areas. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, over 12 million students attend a rural public elementary or secondary school, accounting for 25% of all public school students. Unrecognized by most Americans and often overshadowed by the nation's attention to dropout challenges in urban settings, more than one-fifth of public schools in rural America have higher than average dropout rates. Because of their remote locations and more limited resources, schools in rural communities often have less access to high-quality technical assistance than schools in other communities. For this reason, the U.S. Department of Education's High School Graduation Initiative program provided dropout prevention support and technical assistance to grantees and districts across the country. This video highlights dropout prevention efforts in rural districts and schools in Alaska.
Alaska is a huge state. Many of these communities you can't drive into, and so transportation is a major issue. They're isolated. They often exist on subsistence, so hunting and fishing, just being out in nature. There's a lot of rich culture and community that are in these smaller villages. The challenges then are getting access to some of the urban opportunities, getting a sense of the opportunities that are available to students. That's something that we want to communicate. The smaller communities sometimes struggle to make learning opportunities, engagement opportunities available to their students. Mm-hmm. So the challenges to implementing these distance learning programs is always one of making it relevant to the individual student. So as you scale up, you obviously lose some of the personalness. And so how do you still deliver an engaging product, program, training, instruction for the individual student in the rural setting? I think that's always a challenge. We've always had a statewide boarding school, but we needed something that was a little more local and recognizing the local cultural needs of the students.
Basically, this is really
there have been two areas of focus recently that have developed to solve the need to keep the rural students engaged. The first is the short-term residential program that exposes them to career, technical, driver's license, just some urban opportunities. And then the second option that we've developed recently is the distance delivery using technology. So, webinars or over the internet or over the phone, delivering courses to rural communities.
Trying to get that delivery system and model in place and allowing kids to have access to full opportunities for education in careers that maybe they don't have access to in their regions, or specifically for careers that may be in their region that resources may be more beneficial outside that region so they can get access to quality training.
Well, one of the things we know nationally is that the virtual world needs to become a very personal world. Distance education must be very personal. And we're fortunate because kids today live in the digital commons. So the virtual world is a primary mode of communication for them.
National numbers show through research that those that graduate with a skill or have an interest in a CTE career pathway or coursework, they're more likely to graduate or come back to school and be able to be trained and work towards a career.
So we're talking things like welding, wood shop, and also building a small building for construction.
Part of our process is that they have to have local advisory boards for their career and technical education programs. So the districts go out and engage the local partners to figure out what their workforce needs are and those types of things, or what skills they may be lacking that they're seeing in the employment sets. and those types of things. So that's part of the Perkins requirements. They have advisory boards tell them what's going on in their area and in their career pathways specifically.
We attempt to get a person from every community in the region to come in, so from every small village, we want at least one person. And then locally, we find businesses, so we'll contact everyone that we can fit in the room and bring them together for conversations about how NACTEC can support the demand for jobs in the region.
We've also have some statewide initiatives where we take direction from our Alaska Workforce Investment Board, where we look at priority industries and occupations, and we kind of trickle that through of what we're planning for the future for our students, so we can align to that priority occupations. There are needs across the state. Healthcare is always a big one for our state. Oil and gas, obviously, because of its history. Tourism, maritime are also big industries that we try to do that with, so we engage business partner in those.
We always need to be focused on the local needs. So it's a give and a take, because you're trying to take advantage of the economy of scale, yet at the same time you want to recognize and acknowledge the local culture of your students. So we've paid special attention, and to some extent we've often been pulled back into this idea of we can have a top-down model, but the value and the meaningfulness comes from the ground up.
Situated in Nome, Alaska, the Northwestern Alaska Career and Technical Center, or NACTEC, is a short-term residential vocational training center that offers high school students living on the Bering Strait the resources and skills necessary for career opportunities and post-secondary education.
Well, part of the reason for NACTEC, the initial development to begin with, was that we wanted students to be able to have opportunities that they couldn't have in their own home communities. So we have a very large auto shop, for example. We have a large metal shop. We have a large wood shop that we work with and we use jointly with Nome Public Schools. Beautiful facility.
I took a lot of classes as a high school student because I was done with all my high school credits by the time I was 16. Because my grandparents would push me to take all these classes when I was young. So I just came to NACTEC because I didn't have anything to do. So I took the construction classes, I took a health aid class, I took a business class, and driver's ed, all these other classes I took. I think I came back 17 times.
Like in the summer of when I came here for the 4-week session for construction, I wanted to get my certificate as a hand-on, get the experience. After that, I got hired for this job to build a log cabin in Unacleat.
For the Iditarod?
Yeah, for the Iditarod.
Just wanted experience, like carpentry. I used to want to build things, and I wanted to try out that session.
What we're called is a short-term residential facility. So we bring in students, we give them very focused training in an area of their choice. I think that in itself is just really wonderful for students. Normally they'd have to either leave their region for these training programs, or they would have to go for a long stint for a semester or year-based program in a residential facility. So our program is novel in that sense because it's short, it's focused, and generally students can get out of our program with pretty much 1 to 3 certifications from their food service card, their driver's license, as well as their American Red Cross, just to name a few of the smaller certificates that are given here. So,
I have my permit, and I spend my summers in Minnesota. And so this summer I'll be vacationing, and I need my license in order to get around town myself. So it's kind of like a priority for me right now, just to get my license and to drive.
Driver's ed is huge. It's our highest in demand, and we're the only driver's ed program in the region currently. It's the only place where students can come and get trained to get a license or a permit.
We have a wide array of local, regional, and state partners that are there to support NACTech, utilizing education tax credits, making out-of-pocket contributions. So as one example from the first year that I was here, and this comes about from triangulating data sources. One of our advisory board members from one of the villages, Gullivan, was a heavy equipment operator. He would work in the winter, flying down to Anchorage, moving snow at the airport, coming back, and he noted, hey, there's opportunities in rural Alaska for these seasonal jobs that are there. So he was a data point. The current, at that time, superintendent at Nome Public Schools noted there's high dropout rates, and we need programs such as heavy equipment. There's jobs there, and they're good paying jobs that if we could just keep kids in school.
A lot of these courses have grown out of meetings with our advisory board, where we have people come from around the region, representatives from each community as well as locally here in Nome. We bring them together and we brainstorm. Every year we have meetings. We try to get industry partners as well to find what is the training need, what does the community need, what does the region need, and we try to meet those demands. So things like business entrepreneurship grew out of people wanting students to be able to start their own businesses, students being able to manage money.
We have an annual advisory board meeting where we have representatives from all the villages come in, and business, industry, chamber of commerce, everyone that's there locally. So we solicit input at that level. We send our teachers out, staff, all of us out to sites to go recruiting. The 15 villages of Bering Strait School District, and here at Nome Belts High School as well, and we survey students. So last year we surveyed 380 students.
What I'm finding is these students who come in for 2 weeks, we see this time-lapse video of every time they come in, they mature a little bit. They're a little more sure of what they want to do with their lives. And they have these certifications, which, I mean, looking on a resume, I never had in high school. So they're building up their skills, and I really believe the difference that we make in this short time of a 2 to 4 week course parallels anything that is done in a semester or year-long based high school. I think some of the differences are greater in many ways.
Or deal with this kind of stuff. How do you go like, well, let's go down and we'll wash it down with fire hoses? Like, I don't think that's a good idea. You know, I think the best thing we can do with this amount of stuff is get all the kids out of the high school and take them someplace else.
My first class that I came here for was ETT, and I wanted to get into the health field all those times. So I came for that session.
It's pretty rewarding to see people that are interested in the health field come in, get started, progress through their courses, and then come back and serve the people of the region.
Some of our districts have tied it to their local safety forces for some of the career pathways with first responder training and those types of things, or welding, which is quite often because we have maritime welding, we have oil and gas welding in this state that are big draws for employment. So it varies on our region and the approaches the district have, and we have a wide variety of approaches across the state that seem to be servicing our students.
We started off with basic training, like we do like the classwork, and then for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 weeks we'd build the shed. There'd be like 16 of us.
Roughly between
Like
10 and 16.
Between 10 and 16 kids.
Yeah, I got 2 certificates, one for NCCR Core and one for Residential Carpentry 1.
We deal with a population that is very remote. Many of them haven't left their home communities except for sports where they're surrounded by their friends. And we bring them in. They may be the only person from their community, and homesickness is definitely something that we deal with on a daily basis, generally the first week. Once they get to Thursday, they're usually off and running. So.
Well, at first I was nervous, shy, didn't know what to do, and I just had to go by the rules. And as the days started going by, I just got comfortable, met new people, and then I came again and kind of knew the routine. And
you make lots of new friends here.
Yeah, it's like you come here, you don't know anybody, but
I know you live
before
here.
you leave, you know people. You get to meet friends.
Yeah.
I mean, they may be people you see on trips or
school trips, but then like when you come here, you get to know each other, you get to work together, you live together, and at the end everybody leaves becoming friends.
If we were asking students or expecting students to get post-secondary training, they're going to have to leave their home community, and they're going to have to be away for an extended period of time, most of the time longer than 2 weeks. So this is an initial stepping stone. This is the preparation for success in life after high school.
It's a whole bunch of activities, you meet new people, you're doing new things, getting new opportunities to help you further in after high school.
And it gives them a sense of this is what a workforce would need to do in order to be part of a functioning member of society, to get up, to take part in some activity that is going to be beneficial and to themselves and others.
Coming here now puts them in a setting that is small, it's a small group. There's a maximum of 26 students here at a time. And you have an opportunity, and you will engage with 4 or 5 individuals throughout those 2 weeks that you're gonna see. They care about you.
It's really fun watching some of these kids that come through. Last year, these 2 girls that came through the CNA training that we had, one graduated successfully and she's now working in her village as a health aide, and another one went off to college and is pursuing her dream as working in the health field.
I think it'll be like this in college. It gives you a glimpse of what it will be like for you after high school. I mean, your living situation, you do have a roommate, you kind of learn how to manage your time.
Employees often ask more for those soft skills, those employability skills. They want to know that an employee is going to get up on time and be there every day, is committed to getting the job done. And we build that in every day with our programming. We have specific times that students are supposed to be places, and we train them to do that, and we build in incentives for that. And we talk about it as a workforce expectation. When we talk about things here at NACTEC, we're not talking just about this is part of your education or this is something you need to learn. We frame it in terms of the workplace and their success in the workplace in life after high school.
My teacher introduced Ackland to me. It was very flexible, and time management and stuff was the only thing that I really had to worry about. And just generally, it really fit for my schedule. I could do whatever I wanted for how I was taking the class. There's a bunch of different options for whether you want to be involved in an actual online course where you, or when you're connecting over Skype, or you could just do it very independent type of study, which I thought that was really cool.
Over the course of the last year and a half, we've provided funding to a handful of districts to develop rigorous courses that could be delivered over a distance. And so a couple of our districts received funding to take courses that they were perhaps already doing in their schools and distanceizing them, if you will.
What we want to do is just create a robust learning community so that Ackland is not just a program. There are many, many programs out there, but we are truly, like our name suggests or implies, that we are Alaska's learning network. We are a network. So we do affect our students, our parents, counselors, educators, administrators. So we are a network statewide.
And texting, email, they do it, especially texting, but they're used to that. So one of the things that are very important for me is if I see a student failing or slipping, is to form a relationship with them using our digital tools. They respond much more to those than phone calls. And also to form a relationship with their on-site supervisors and their teachers, because what happens on site is often people of very goodwill, staff, because you don't see the class happening, it's very easy to lose track of it, everyone on site. So my job is to get everyone, the kid and their support people on site, engaged in what's happening with the student, and to collaborate to figure out a plan to help that student succeed in that class.
I started taking high school classes when I was in 8th grade, so I've been on a different schedule than my peer group, and online classes is the only way I could take certain core classes.
What we have to do here is a rotating schedule. We have one language arts teacher, one math teacher, one social studies teacher. And so the students will take curriculum, maybe not necessarily at their grade level, because we can only offer, like, one year we can offer U.S. history, the next year it's world history, and things like that. So that's how we have to kind of rotate through the curriculum to make sure they get the curriculum that's required of our school district.
Well, the distance in general, it really offers options to students. So we run into all sorts of different reasons that students take our classes. Some take them because it's not offered in their school, or they don't have a highly qualified teacher in their school, so the only way they can get that high school credit is through us. Others, maybe it just fits their learning style. Some do it so they can accelerate. They're advanced students and they don't want to have to wait till they're juniors to take that junior level class. They can take the online class when they're freshmen if the school thinks that's appropriate.
For a school like this, it would be impossible truly to offer, first of all, credit recovery classes like some students take if they failed a class, or even enrichment classes. They offer a lot of electives through our online program that we simply are not able to offer here in the building.
One thing that I've always thought really wasn't fair is the larger high schools had all the electives, and the small schools didn't have hardly any electives. So once I set my courses up to be online, and then I started to let kids from other district or other schools in the district, the smaller schools, enroll in my courses. And it worked out really well, and it's just grown and grown and grown to the point where I had more students outside of my classroom, my traditional classroom, than I did in my traditional classroom day.
I have 2 students, both seniors, graduating tonight that took a pharmacy tech program online from our district online program this year. They have both finished the course, they passed their final, and this course actually prepares them to sit now for a state exam where they could receive a basic certificate and, my understanding, a license to be a pharmacy technician.
I mostly decided to do online because sitting in classroom, there's a lot of distractions, and you can not get things done as good as by yourself working on the computer. If somebody has a question in the classroom, the teacher can go on the whole class talking about their question that they have, and if you know what they're talking about and you just want to move on, it's frustrating to have to deal with all the other questions.
If we take a look at a traditional classroom, I might have 20 kids in the classroom at the same time, and maybe there's someone who has one question and someone else who has another question, and we're going through that material as a group. When the kids have the online material, whenever they've got a question, they don't have to wait to find me in class the next day. They can just text the question, I can answer them. If I have a few people who have the same kinds of questions, then I can get them in a group and we can work on it together, or I might even make a little video podcast, or there's various ways I can deal with it if it seems to be a question that's a shared concern. But I can also reach out to the kids individually. And through time, I can take a look at my course content, and also if there's something in particular that seems confusing to the kids, I can make enrichment lessons. I can provide more information in a variety of ways.
When I took the class, we were able to ask the teacher for help, and she would call, and she would do the work on the screen, and we would talk over the phone while she was doing it. She'd explain it really well, and I could understand it, because I was never very good at understanding math, but the way she explained it was really well, and being able to have just one-on-one time with a teacher was really well. And we could also have time to talk with the other students in the class, because we would have maybe once or twice a week we'd call the teacher, and all of us would be able to talk and ask questions that we had.
The different teaching, like, there's options for like the teaching styles that work for you. Like, you don't have to just have one teacher that will teach you in a certain way. Like, you can look for a type of teaching style that actually works for you, which I really appreciated, because my learning style is generally one thing, and so it's really hard to find teachers that teach the way that, like, the best way that you understand things.
I think one of the main things when people take online distance education is that they have to feel they're connected personally. So as an instructor, I contact the kids individually and I ask them, how would they best want to communicate? How much peer-to-peer interaction do they want? How much interaction do they want with me? And I want them to feel like when they have a question, or when they have a concern, or when there's confusion or frustration, that they can reach right out and get help.
Well, my freshman year, I pretty much failed all my classes but one. So at first I was doing credit recovery, and then I got to my senior year and I needed a bunch of electives. So my counselor decided to put me into some online. For the pace, it was pretty much going by my own pace. So it was actually pretty neat.
In a classroom, you can't really just go grab a computer and look up and learn more about what you're learning about. There's a book in front of you and you can only look in the book, and you don't really have time in a classroom to go look in a book on your own. You're always doing some project or some homework.
It got me to where I'm graduating today, and because of that I don't have to get dishonorably discharged, and I'm going to get shipped out for the Marines August 2nd.
What we've done is, I was a high school counselor for many, many years, and it always graded me that students would take the same course over and over again. And so true credit recovery is built on mastery. So our courses, we have a prescriptive setting on our courses, and we work with our teachers to work with those students to make sure they have mastered. And so there's a pre-test before every unit. If a student is then has mastered that content, can move on to the next unit. So they're really working on what they need to know to pass or do well in the class, and not just do the same thing over and over again.
If you listen on the phone conversations that we have with students around here, you'll hear that a lot. Okay, how are we going to get you done and get you on path, get you on track so that you're able to graduate on time?
As far as I'm concerned, it's really the wave of the future, because it allows us teachers to do so much more and be able to really get to the kids at their convenience and their interest. It lets us expand course offerings across the state. It allows us to teach in ways that work best for each individual student. And I think that really it's a wonderful resource in education.
So I think that's a vital part, because if we get kids interested and exposed earlier, whether it be either online or hands-on experiences they have at their schools, I think that's going to be an important part to help people graduate and to go forward in the workforce and be good citizens for our state, as well as working citizens, which is what everybody ultimately wants to do, to be able to take care of themselves for the future.
Well, we want to make sure that that we put as much support around the student as we can. So we collaborated with the University of Alaska Professional Education Center to provide courses for these folks.